The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Thursday night. So, Jack Hughes, American hero, returns to the United States, and more importantly, to my home state of New Jersey. Devils had a home game last night against the Buffalo Sabres, and Jack addressed the crowd, sold out. Just, I haven't seen this sort of reception for a player in New Jersey Devils history, and I've been watching the team since I was a kid back in the 80s. Quite like the one that Hughes got, and he obviously enjoyed the moment and said all the right things, because Jack Hughes is the ultimate ambassador of U.S. hockey right now. No question. Still missing tooth. No time to get to the dentist. Boy, these guys work hard. Cut number one, go.
I'm so proud and I'm so happy that the men's and women's USA hockey teams brought gold medals back to the United States of America. You guys are making me emotional, but I'm so proud to represent the New Jersey Devils organization.
Woo!
And I'm so proud to represent the great state of New Jersey. So
That's
proud.
right. And there you go. So that's nice, right? And again, this should be a very simple story, like it was in 1980. Where you have an underdog team. Now, the team in 80 was a much bigger underdog against the Soviets. Those were amateurs that were playing kids, in essence. No pros on that team who beat the Soviets, who had plenty of all-star professionals on their team. And a reminder, again, Madison Square Garden, just a couple weeks before the actual Olympic Games, there was a preliminary game, a preseason, you want to call it preseason of hockey, and the Soviets won 10-1. I mean, crushed the Americans on their home ice in the world's most famous arena. So you're thinking they have no shot. And sure enough, it was the semifinals, by the way, when the U.S. beat the Soviets 4-3. The miracle on ice. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, Hal Michaels. So nevertheless, the Canadian team here in 2026, they were favored. They had the best player in the world in Connor McDavid. And many people thought that the U.S., who hasn't won, again, a gold medal in 46 years since 1980, would be beaten by the Canadians again, as they have in recent years. But sure enough, Hughes scores the golden goal not too long into overtime. And it should just be a happy story, but everything gets sullied in this world now. No one on the left can just enjoy something. Like Sydney Sweeney, she does an ad. American Eagle, jeans, says, oh, I have great genes, saying, yeah, she's hot because her parents are good-looking people, therefore she is good-looking and looks really good in jeans. Get it? And even that was criticized as, well, you know, she's really pushing white supremacy. This really has some real references to racism, subtle references to what are you talking about? It's a pair of jeans and a hot white girl in it. Who cares? Did we care about Cindy Crawford when she drank a bottle of Pepsi? No, of course not. But that's where we are at this point. It is common sense versus crazy. Anyway, Mikie Sherrill the governor of New Jersey, newly minted. And look, I don't know what happened exactly in November, that race against Jack Ciattarelli. Jack was within a point or two at best. Almost every poll, this thing was was a dead heat. It was definitely within the margin of error. There wasn't one pundit out there who didn't think that this thing would be razor close, like it was 4 years ago, where Ciattarelli was leading most of the night on election night, and then Phil Murphy came back and won once the mail-in votes came in and other votes from cities like Newark and Camden, Trenton. And it was a race that was won by Murphy by about 2 points. Okay, so we figured that this probably would go the same way, and even Ciattarelli possibly winning by 2 points, or if it goes the other way, then Sherrill by 1 or 2 points. She was a very unspectacular candidate for governor. Outside of, I flew a helicopter in the military once, there wasn't much of a message, right? She's not very personable. She's average. Okay. Nothing that you say, oh boy, this is really going to galvanize people to come out and vote this person. And then suddenly that night, that race was called so early, and Mikie Sherrill won by 13 points. She got 600,000 more votes than Phil Murphy did when he won the governorship for the first time 8 years before that. 600,000 more, from 1.2 million to 1.8 million. It's kind of like Joe Biden getting 13 million more votes than Barack Obama, despite being a very unspectacular candidate who only campaigned from his basement, didn't really have a message per se outside of Trump is bad. And that guy got 81 million votes. And Mikie Sherrill got more votes than any gubernatorial candidate in New Jersey history by a country mile. And you're like, what? And there were some towns, I went through it at the time, where even the mayor of a particular town like Belleville, for example, blue-collar working town. I was born there, actually, Claremont Hospital. And Sherrill won that when Ciattarelli won it by nearly 20 points in the previous election. You're like, wait, how did that turn that way so drastically? Again, for an average candidate who really didn't have any message, where the Democratic Party is as popular as shingles at this point as far as the brand. And suddenly this candidate winning by 13 points overall, winning towns where the mayor endorsed Jack Ciattarelli and one going away. And it was just a weird election. And that was that. So you got to wonder, like, okay, Mikie Sherrill, first big public appearance since she was elected and was inaugurated in January. And she was at the Rock, Prudential Center, Newark, New Jersey last night. And here's the reception that she got, not exactly sounding like a candidate that won by 13 points. This is cut number 2. Go.
Partner David and Allison Blitzer, and New Jersey Governor Mikie Sherrill, and First Gentleman Jason Haber.
Whoa. I mean, that wasn't like, well, some cheers and some boos. That was resounding booing of a new governor that, again, got more votes than anybody. And I get that hockey may be more of a conservative thing than a, liberal thing, but my goodness gracious, that was pretty brutal. Anyway, also brutal was Bill O'Reilly on News Nation last night, just going off on Democrats. And again, when you think of State of the Union addresses, in the end, they maybe are remembered for one thing. They go, in this case, President Trump spoke for what, an hour and 48 minutes? And throughout all of that and all the applause lines and all the medals that were handed out, and rightly so in so many cases, especially to our veterans, to the U.S. hockey team, to a victim of an illegal alien who was driving a truck here, didn't know English, didn't know the signs, and now was paralyzed, a 5-year-old girl, and Democrats couldn't even stand for that. When you think about everything that happened that night, in the end, the one takeaway is the fact that when President Trump asked the question, Do you believe in protecting American citizens first? Asked it to every lawmaker in that chamber. Or should illegal aliens be prioritized above them? I'm paraphrasing. You get the point. And no Democrats stood for that, except for John Fetterman. That's incredible. O'Reilly, well, he calls it in only a way that Bill can. This is cut number 3. Go.
Rather than chance it, the Republican Party is very shrewd. It said, look, the Democratic Party with no leadership at all, none. Who's the leader of the Democratic Party, Cuomo?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. They really got to. They really have to figure that out. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Nobody.
That is a problem. That is a problem.
We're gonna. All right. Big problem. So we're gonna lay a trap. We're gonna lay a trap, and the trap is going to be the Constitution, which every elected official has to swear to uphold the laws of the country, which require that Americans are protected by their government. So the question is, put Americans first on the protection list. Who stands up for that? And all Republicans leap to their feet, and the Democrats sit there. Are you kidding me? How stupid are they? They could have just stood up.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you are not compassionate to migrants. That doesn't mean you support unfair policies toward immigrants. It means that you understand what the Constitution says. But not one Democrat was smart enough to do it. Okay?
Exactly. I mean, it's just common sense. Trump could go out there and have Jesus Christ as a guest in the gallery and award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, or announce that, yes, we have a cure for cancer, and Democrats would still sit. I mean, that's how that would go. So they walked into this one, and now already the Trump team, the GOP, RNC, they already have ads that are out highlighting that optic, that split screen of Republicans standing and cheering when asked, do you protect American citizens first over illegals, against Democrats sitting down with scowls on their faces. I am telling you, these are the things that help decide elections. I know it's February. I know November's a long time away. But if it comes down to a binary choice of Democrats support illegals over you, the American citizen, that's enough to sway those states, those swing districts that usually go down to like 1 or 2 points like we talked about. That could sway it one way or the other because it's not hard to understand. It's not understanding GDP or understanding what core inflation CPI means, all those numbers that we hear so often that can be spun in so many different ways. If it's a simple cultural choice, like should men play against women in sports, especially on the amateur level, and you're against that like 85% of the country, and then the party that supports it passionately pushes for legislation making sure that it is banned, allowing men playing against women in sports, and then Democrats take the 15 side of that 85-15 issue. Again, it's an easy way to resonate and push your ultimate goal, which is just bring this country back to common sense and normalcy. You believe in that, that should be the Republican brand. It shouldn't even be Republican anymore, or even conservative. The Common Sense Party. They should rebrand right now because it is crazy town on the other side. Let's play one more clip here, shall we, before we go to break? And this is a guy who is supposed to be a moderate, or so we're told. Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky. Yes, a Democrat is the governor of Kentucky with a 60% approval rating. It's really quite a contrast when you think about how red that state is. And then to elect a Democratic governor, this guy has always presented himself as, all shucks, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but I'm really on your side when it comes to talking to Republicans, especially moderate Republicans. Well, here he was on CNN being asked a question of whether he would have stood during the State of the Union speech when Trump asked that question around, do you support American citizens over illegal aliens? And this is what this Gavin Newsom East Coast Kentucky version had to answer. Cut number 8, go.
You know, there's this moment during the State of the Union address, where the president asked members to show support if they agreed with the statement that the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens and not those in the country illegally. Many Democrats did stay seated for that. Look, it's not typical the opposition party stands and claps for every moment, but on that line, would you have?
Yeah, the president had a choice last night to speak to the American people or to spar with those in the chamber, to either try to unite our country or further sow division. And that's what he did. Sure, the duty of public safety is critical. It's one I work on every single day.
Right. So you didn't answer the question and just Trump. This guy is a paper tiger. Glass jaw, as they say in boxing. One decent shot and he will go down rhetorically. So, yeah, if he's the answer, I'm sorry, maybe you're better off with Newsom, who we have so much more to talk about, by the way, during this show. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So we talk a lot about MSNBC or MS Now, whatever they are these days. I guess they are MS Now. CNN as well, New York Times, Washington Post. ABC News is perhaps the worst because they still have this aura of, you know, David Brinkley and Ted Koppel. Even Peter Jennings, I thought, did a decent job. It may have been to the left, but he at least tried to be objective. Now you got clowns like David Muir and Jonathan Karl. Jonathan Karl is the one that really pisses me off because he has written 4 Trump books, all negative. And I don't care. I've written 3 books myself, different topics, of course, along the way. But Karl didn't bother to write one about Joe Biden, despite being the president of the White House Correspondents Association. So he does the Trump book because that gets him the most money. And obviously it keeps him in good graces of his liberal friends within the media. But he couldn't do one on Biden, huh? Interesting. Anyway, Muir, you may remember as well, was one of the 2 moderators of the Trump-Kamala debate, which was profoundly biased, where Trump got, 5 fact checks during that debate, 6 follow-up questions. You know how many Kamala got? Fact checks? 0. You know how many follow-ups? 0. The head of ABC News is Dana Walden, who is best friends with Kamala Harris. Literally, they're neighbors in Brentwood, California. Donated to her campaign, and she runs ABC News. How'd you think that was going to go? Anyway, here is David Muir and Jonathan Karl falsely claiming that Trump blew off Justice Amy Coney Barrett when he actually did shake her hand. It's a lie, and it's on video. That's the best part. Cut number 5, go.
Of course, he chose Amy Coney Barrett for the bench. She was one of the justices who did not vote in his favor and did not shake her hand there.
Yeah, interesting, that shake. Very quick shake with John Roberts, and then going right by Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the court.
Yeah, going right by her, except he shook her hand. It's such a lie, and of course they're not going to apologize or retract because it's MSABC at this point. Anyway, this is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, Gavin Newsom, you look at turning points in the trajectory of a candidate, and Newsom, for a while, because he trolled Trump so effectively in our stupid media, then thinks that that is something that makes him a viable consideration to be president of the United States, because I guess his social media team can be snarky like Trump or something, and no one looks at his record, which, again, if you want to get past the whole highest homeless rate in the country and highest poverty rate in the country and biggest exodus out of one state in the country, despite being, California is gorgeous. It really is. I've been there a lot more lately. You work for Fox, you get hired to do speeches. It's all good. I went to the Reagan Library, actually, which was profoundly awesome. To go on the old Air Force One was really surreal. It wasn't all that big. I got to be honest with you. There wasn't even a place for Nancy to sleep. If she was on there, she had to take a couch. You think like master bedrooms and all this stuff. No, back in the 80s, it wasn't that big of a plane. Remarkable. But just to get that tour and to speak there was a real honor. And so I've been there, Simi Valley, that was in. I've been to San Diego, been to Los Angeles, San Francisco. It's a gorgeous state. If it were run properly, I don't see why anybody would ever move out of there, because you have the two things that you want most especially when you're older, I guess, or older than 40. You have climate and you have coastline. Perfect, right? But more people are leaving that state than any other state in the country. New York is a very close second. Illinois as well, right behind. And those are all run by blue governors and blue mayors in their largest cities, and we all know why. Highest taxes in the country, California. So you combine all this stuff in terms of culture, homeless, poverty, drugs, and then you have, it's really, really expensive to live here. And oh, by the way, if a fire breaks out, the governor doesn't have any water in the reservoirs or in the fire hydrants. And yet this guy, right now, polling, is the favorite to be the Democratic nominee, but he is profoundly phony. And I think that will ultimately be his downfall, where he may not even get the nomination because he panders. I study media. You guys know me from Fox. And when he is in front of a conservative host or conservative guest, like Charlie Kirk was on his podcast about a year ago, and Newsom went off on men playing against women in sports and said it's wrong, it shouldn't happen, but then never reversed the legislation that allows it in California. So he's a words and not an action kind of guy. And he told Charlie what he wanted to hear to get agreement because that makes things more comfortable. Well, he goes before a black audience and a black host earlier this week and says something that is profoundly racist, I'm sorry, where he talks about how he got a 960 on the SAT. That's not very good, right? You want to be at least above 1,000. And he tried to portray it as, well, I did poorly on the SATs, and I don't read speeches because I, just like you, can't read. That is some of the most condescending, dismissive, quite frankly, racist things you could ever hear. And I can guarantee you, if anybody from the Trump administration made remotely any comments like that, it would be 24/7 news. Now, all of that said, thankfully, we have podcasts that are responding to this, including Andrew Schultz's, which is quite a good podcast, I have to say. And here is Schultz and team playing the Newsom clip, in case you haven't heard it, and I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, then, well, it's worth listening to again, trust me, because it's that bad. And then their reaction to it is priceless. This is cut number 9. Go.
This is the next president of the United States.
That's pretty fun.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
All
right. Impress upon you, I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech.
Oh, boy. No.
Just maybe the wrong business to be in.
Oh, boy.
I mean, dude. Now, we should say he has a disability. He's dyslexic.
Yes, stop making fun of him.
Exactly, he's a disability. Okay, which I think makes us more offensive. Because he's like, I have a disability, which makes me dumb, but you guys are just dumb.
I'm like, you guys are the same.
Hey, I'm just like you because I have a mental condition that stops me from being able to read and do math. So that's why I got a 960 on my SATs.
Bro, it's so bad. I hate when politicians try to black it up. Like, even the way he's speaking and the mannerisms, like, why are you doing that? I hate this.
Exactly. And that's why Newsom's going to have a real problem. Because the first Democratic primary is in South Carolina, and I can guarantee you, black voters are not going to embrace this guy. And if Kamala Harris is running against him, she wins that state. Now, if you are rooting for the J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio ticket, or whoever the ticket may be, that's very good news. Either way, I think it's good news. I think Kamala ultimately being the nominee is the best news because Newsom is an unknown in terms of he can lie better than anybody out there. And he looks the part and he can portray himself as moderate. He could be whatever you want him to be. He's a shapeshifter. He is a lizard man. Kamala, we already know, is a profound loser. She ran in 2020, didn't even get to 2020, had to drop out in 2019, didn't even get to Iowa. And then 2024, despite having nearly $2 billion behind her in 107 days, tried to buy off everything and everyone and still lost every swing state and the popular vote. Republicans took back the Senate and held the House. So if you have her run again, I mean, I don't know if you really read about the 1956 election, as I have because I'm a dork. Adlai Stevenson was the nominee in 52 against Eisenhower and then was again in 56. I, like Ike, kicked his ever-living butt. And I kind of like Stevenson, quite frankly, especially during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He really was excellent in grilling the Soviet ambassador as far as whether Russia, at that time, the Soviet Union, was moving missiles into Cuba. If you watch the movie 13 Days, it portrays it nicely. So Stevenson wasn't a horrible candidate, but once you run a loser, as they did in 52 Democrats, and you come back in 56 with Stevenson, who already has that loser label, it would be like coming back in 88 after Dukakis and running Dukakis again in 92. Like, that's how that would go. You need someone different. So if black voters reject Newsom in South Carolina and Kamala wins that, and then maybe off to the races kind of thing, and Newsom is already seen as somebody who is certainly not authentic and speaks down to people, and his record is horrible in California, I'm sorry. I think that would clear the path for Kamala Harris. And then if you're J.D. Vance, oh, boy, you want that debate. Oh, you really want that debate. Could you imagine Kamala Harris versus J.D. Vance on a debate stage? Oh, Tyson Spinks, 91 seconds. It would be over. Anyway, Dr. Casey Means was on Capitol Hill today, and she was obviously there because she is the nominee for Surgeon General. Hard to believe that it's been nearly a year and 1 month, and we still don't have a Surgeon General under the Trump administration, but here we are. Sure enough, here is New Jersey's, boy, we got a lot of winners in the Garden State, Andy Kim, attempting to discredit her, and she pushes back so nicely. It's worth playing on this show. Cut number 10, go.
In terms of, if you are a leader of the Commission Corps, I'm trying to get a sense, are you going to deprioritize having an active license in the same way that, you believe that you can do the job of a Surgeon General without having an active license? Do you believe that that is the case for others in the Commission Corps, that they can do their job without having an active license?
Senator Kim, I'm a medical doctor. I graduated from Stanford University School of Medicine. I have a medical license. My professional history is a feature. It's not a bug. I have had a unique history that has merged entrepreneurship, public health advocacy, faculty, course direction at Stanford University, as well as being an editor of a medical journal and a biomedical researcher. And in these complex times for American healthcare, that type of multidisciplinary history is going to be extremely valuable for the American people.
That's right. All right, good answer. Okay, I've done a lot of different things, and therefore, considering how complex the healthcare system is as Surgeon General, this is the right person for the right job. Now, all that said, it made me think of a movie called Malice that was out in 1990, I want to say 1, maybe 2. And look, Alec Baldwin, as a person, is not a good guy. But as an actor, especially in The Hunt for Red October, and especially in a movie called Malice and other movies like The Edge, Alec Baldwin is a tremendous actor. All right? Willing to say it. No problem with it. And here's how I think that Dr. Casey Means should have answered that question on Capitol Hill today in terms of competence and arrogance. And this scene from Malice, from Baldwin, when he's asked if he has a God complex as a doctor, it's worth playing on this show. It's cut number 11. Go.
I have an MD from Harvard. I am board certified in cardiothoracic medicine and trauma surgery. I have been awarded citations from 7 different medical boards in New England, and I am never, ever sick at sea. So I ask you, when someone goes into that chapel and they fall on their knees and they pray to God that their wife doesn't miscarry, or that their daughter doesn't bleed to death, or that their mother doesn't suffer acute neural trauma from post-operative shock, who do you think they're praying to? Now, you go ahead and read your Bible, Dennis, and you go to your church, and with any luck, you might win the annual raffle. But if you're looking for God, he was in operating room number 2 on November 17th, and he doesn't like to be second-guessed. You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
God. That's some good stuff. I would love to see that from any Surgeon General nominee, saying that to a clown like Andy Kim, no question about it. That movie also had Nicole Kidman in it, who does not age. It really is quite remarkable. Anyway, Nancy Pelosi, so she's retiring this year, and she's going to get a whole bunch of accolades and probably documentaries and just the greatest speaker ever, one of the great congresswomen ever to ever walk this country, this earth. But, I mean, she is everything wrong with Congress. And we know why. Because her stock portfolio is something like we have never seen in the history of anybody who has represented this country. In this case, San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi. Listen to this Fox News report. The returns on what she made is absolutely infuriating, outstanding, and I don't know what to say. Probably illegal. This is cut number 13. Go.
Nancy Pelosi reportedly raking in more than $130 million in profits from trading stocks during her 37 years in Congress. That's according to a new report by the New York Post. The former House Speaker saw a whopping return of nearly 17,000% while in office, outperforming the Dow. Before taking office in 1987, a Financial Forum showed California Democrat and her husband reporting up to $785,000 worth of stocks in their portfolio. The report comes days after the 85-year-old announced she won't be seeking re-election.
This is the kind of stuff that makes people just hate government, hate politicians. It's disgusting. And I don't know why she just walks away from it with nothing happening to her. That's clearly inside information. There's no way she's that smart.
Apparently, it is a very, very profitable business to be in, politics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Charlie Hurt, Rachel Campos Duffy there at Fox News, Fox and Friends Weekend. Now, meanwhile, Pelosi, interviewed today, says that, she was never in Congress for the money, for the Benjamins. This is cut number 12. Go.
Position. It's the only position, Speaker of the House of Congress, that is mentioned in the Constitution of the United States. At the time, I was, too, the highest paid person on Capitol Hill as a woman. That was a big deal. Not that I was there for the money.
No, you weren't there for the money. I mean, 16,000% return on investment? I'm sorry, this is one of the biggest scandals that we have seen in Congress, and nothing is going to happen. To Rachel Campos Duffy's point, she's just going to walk away, get all the accolades, all the awards, liberal media. Oh boy, Nancy, Slayer, Queen. And no one's ever going to talk about the fact that she clearly had access to information that you and I don't have as investors. And she and her husband are now worth hundreds of millions of dollars as a result, and nothing will happen. And that's why so many people are so pissed off at government and the way things work, regardless of who's in power. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So the Democratic Party is in serious, serious trouble. I'm not saying that. CNN, the former Clinton News Network, is saying that. This is cut number 14. 14, go.
This, I think, is so important to note. After all the events in Los Angeles, after all the events in Minneapolis, after all the events of the last year on immigration, can Democrats actually take advantage on this issue? And a look at the polling suggests actually no. They're in a worse position than they were at this point during Donald Trump's first term. Take a look here. Trust which party more on immigration. In 2018, Democrats had an edge of about 6 points. You come over to this side of the screen now. Look at that. Republicans are the ones who actually have an edge on immigration.
Oh, well, look at that. So immigration, again, I think in the end is going to be the big lever as far as the November 2028 elections. Democrats have nothing to run on. Republicans have certainly a record, especially performed by Donald Trump, which, again, we did not need comprehensive immigration reform in order to fix the border. We just needed a new president, and sure enough, now nobody is crossing over that border who should not be here. Anyway, another problem for Democrats is the fact that we have books that are in public schools, like in Minnesota, which, with all due respect to California, or disrespect, probably the worst run state in the country when you consider who's running that state in goofy 80s sitcom dad Tim Walz. Well, here we go. Cut number 4. Here we have a state senator. His name is Michael Holstrom, and he is reading from a book recommended to 12-year-olds in Minnesota, and my daughter's 12 years old. And as he's reading it, he is shut down because it is so graphic and so inappropriate. Forget for a 12-year-old, for an 18-year-old, for anybody. And the irony is that, well, if it's not good enough to be read during a hearing, then why should a 12-year-old be exposed to this? Anyway, this is cut number 4. Go.
To that age-appropriate question and to what we want to invest in for our culture, I guess I look at some of the books that we're seeing commonly implemented in our libraries. We see, I actually went this morning and found This Book is Gay from some of our local libraries. Many of the libraries that testified here today do have it in stock on their shelves, recommended in the teen section as young as 12 years old. And this book, among other things, it recommends to young children how to flirt in gay bars. It recommends to children how to enter into non-consensual sexual relationships. And I'll read here. Oral sex is popping another dude's peen in your mouth or indeed popping yours and his. There's only one way, hard and fast rule when it comes to blowjobs. Watch the teeth. And then it goes on to say that letting any guy in your mouth is no.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Oh, this isn't appropriate for this committee?
We don't need to read items that actually, it's not the things that you're reading that are inappropriate. You got your clippable moment. Maybe we could just move on.
It just seems absurd that this is appropriate for a 12-year-old, but not for the senators in this committee. But I will take it.
We got to shut you down. What you're saying is very offensive, but it's okay for a 12-year-old. I can't get my head around that. It's so horrible. And thank God I have a school system here in New Jersey. I know some of you are saying, New Jersey, liberal blue. Nope, not my town. Nope. Our Board of Education, our people here are making sure that this stuff stays far away from my daughter. No question. Anyway, we're going to leave it on that note, people, but we're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC in New York and around the country, nationally syndicated. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes like Andy need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.